You're live.
All right. So this is the Senate. I'm not sure if it's called the Reapportionment or Apportionment Committee. I think it's just the Apportionment Committee. But in any case, that's what we are. We are here right now, and it is Wednesday, January 12th. We have with us the committee members and Amron, who is our legislative counsel, our drafter, and Nick, where are you, Nick Atherton, who will be our mapping specialist, and Tom Little, who's the chair of the Legislative Apportionment Board, and Chris Winters from the Secretary of State's office, and Michael Chernick is with us, who's also in Legislative Council, and Becca Ballant, our pro tem. So I think that what we're going to do is kick off with a few words from Senator Ballant, and then we'll get down to what we have to do.
Thank you, Senator White, and good morning to all of you. I really want to thank the chair for inviting me to give a few remarks this morning about the important work ahead of you. And it's so nice to see all of the legislators here and the staff who will be supporting us in this critical task. So I just wanted to say all of you senators volunteered for this extra responsibility, and I'm grateful for your commitment to this work. There is no extra compensation except for a fair, no, I'm sorry, Jeanette, no extra compensation except for a fair amount of grief and hopefully, eventually, the satisfaction that comes from a job well done. So I'm certain you're all aware that trust in government is at an all-time low in this country. Only about a quarter of Americans say they can trust the government in Washington to do the right thing, quote, most of the time. And when the National Election Study began asking about trust in government in 1958, about 3/4 of Americans trusted the federal government to do the right thing almost always or most of the time. And for history buffs like myself, that was under the Eisenhower presidency. When we look at opinions of the 3 federal branches of government today, the legislative branch, unfortunately, gets the lowest marks. However, according to Pew and Gallup, there are some bright spots in how the public views the work of government. And those bright spots are found at the local and state levels. So generally 2/3 of the public has trust in local government, and nearly 60% trust the work of state government. This is hopeful news. It's a bright spot, but of course we all wish that these numbers were even higher. So that's where you all come in. Vermonters are going to watch the work that you do together on this map, and you'll be judged on your fairness, your bipartisanship, and your dedication to getting it right. And I have a great amount of faith in your ability to do this. And as I often say, as a reminder to all of us, we are a citizen legislature. We serve because we love our towns and our cities and our villages. We serve because we want to come to Montpelier and bring the stories and experiences of our constituents with us and have that inform our work. We serve because we are all essentially just a bunch of government nerds who want systems to function well for Vermonters. So as the pro tem of the Senate, I wanted to be here this morning to tell you I have put my faith in all of you. I'm confident in your ability to work together and do this important work. Thank you for your willingness to serve. I know you'll do right by Vermonters. Thank you, Senator White. Good luck with your work, and I know we'll be speaking frequently over the course of this committee.
Thank you. Thank you. And I assume you have to run off to other things. You're welcome to stay with us as long as you want to, but I know that you have a tight schedule. So when I introduced people, I neglected to say that behind the scenes, keeping us is Mike Farrant, who's making sure that the technology is all working. So thank you. So committee, I think that I've been trying to think of the best way to do this. And I think that what we should do is we don't really have an agenda for today. So I think that what I'd like to do is tell you what I thought we might want to look at today. And then please feel free to jump in and add add stuff. So I thought that because we're a non-standing committee, we're a separate, outside the normal committee time, we will need to find a time that we can meet, and we can decide whether that should be a consistent time or a flexible time from week to week or 2 weeks to 2 weeks or whatever. We so we need to do that. We need the process. We should talk about the process that we're going to be using here and how we want to do that. I had thought that we will need to hear the majority report. We'll have the LAB come in and give us the majority report, and the minority report, so that we get all the information. And then what else do we need to talk about today? And we have Chris and Tom here with us to let us know where all there's a ton of information out there, and Mike has set up a website for this committee, and the information is there, but they're going to talk to us a little bit about not the reports or anything, but where we can find the information and how that is effective. Yeah, Senator Pearson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not seeing it closely on the Senate side, but I was around 10 years ago in the House, and in that era, we had access to staff to play with maps, sort of with their help outside of the committee. And I'm wondering, is that, I'm sort of assuming we'll work together, take some assumptions, and then each of us maybe go off and play with maps. And so I'm wondering if that's your assumption, and is Nick the person that helps us with that? Or I wonder if we could add understanding that into our discussion today.
Yep, I think we should add that to the list of how we're gonna function here. Okay, anything else that we should address today? Yeah, Senator Collmore.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think it also is important to have some sense of when our work needs to be completed. There are certain deadlines for folks who are intending on running for office, and in order for them to know exactly the district in which they hope to represent, I don't know how else to say it, but we need to figure out how quickly we can get it done so that we're not disadvantaging people from being able to know where their district is.
Yeah, I think, and I could throw something out right now, but I think we'll ask Chris from the Secretary of State's office to talk about the deadlines when he addresses us. Does that make sense? And Senator Clarkson, I saw you had your hand up.
Clearly, Brian and I have served for far too long together, because I was going to ask the exact same question. What is our timeline?
Anything else that anybody needs to put on, wants to put on? You don't need to, but wants to put on the agenda for today. And just because it doesn't get on there now, if you think of something in a little while, so what I think, if this makes sense to you, we would have Chris and Tom tell us about the kind of the process and where the information can be found and all of that. And then we'll jump to Senator Pearson's question about how we're going to function. And then set up a calendar for ourselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So Tom, do you want to address us? Just so that everybody knows, Tom's title actually is Special Master. Sounds like something out of Star Wars, doesn't it? But that is his title.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. And I've actually, I said this a number of times at meetings of the Apportionment Board. I think that while that title is in statute, I think the connotations of someone being called or titled a special master has some unfortunate connotations and tones to it. So I've tried to just refer to myself as chair of the Apportionment Board. It's master is a special term in the judicial system.
All right.
It connotes a fact finder under certain circumstances. And I think if you go back and look at the reapportionment efforts of the 60s and 70s, particularly the early 1970s, the Supreme Court had directed the apportionment board and its chair to do some specific fact finding in the context of reapportionment plans that were challenged in front of the Vermont Supreme Court. There's an overwhelming amount of material on the apportionment board's website tab on the Secretary of State's website. Anyone who is having difficulty navigating that and finding stuff should feel free to reach out to Chris Winters or his staff on the Secretary of State's office or to me. This is a website that sort of pops up every 10 years, and so people don't have a chance to get used to it, and we can help people navigate it if you like. One of the things to understand about the Senate proposals from the apportionment board is that they, at least the final majority plan from the apportionment board, is that it is somewhat derivative of the methodology and structure of the House proposal, the proposed House plan, in that the proposed House plan is 150 single-member House districts. And the methodology on the Senate side was to, since one single-member Senate district is equal to 5 single-member House districts in terms of population, the methodology was predominantly to assemble or cluster or combine 5 single-member House districts into one single-member Senate district without varying the boundaries of the single-member House districts. So some of the consequences of that are, on the positive side, I think the deviations may be, population deviations may be tighter doing it that way, possibly. But at the same time, the map, the resulting map does not bear much, if any, resemblance to a county map of the state. There are more subdivisions to county lines than you see now, certainly. And there are some, when you just look at the map, there are some things, there are some questions that you will have about following that methodology. And I'll sort of leave it at that until the committee is able to take a somewhat deeper dive. So that's the apportionment board's proposal for the Senate. The 3 minority members of the committee, or rather the apportionment board, developed an alternate Senate proposal that doesn't do it that way. That is, I guess might say a more conventional approach to redistricting, looking at the districts, the current districts where the population deviations are demanding some changes in order to be consistent with our Constitution's requirement for substantially equal populations across all Senate districts. And you will find yourself looking at the law a lot, I believe, the statute and the Constitution, which contain sort of the prime directive about substantial population equality, but also other factors that the Senate is obliged to give due consideration to, which include, and this is the language from the Constitution, wherever practicable, you'll either come to love or hate that phrasing. Wherever practicable, avoid breaking up existing political subdivision boundaries, towns, cities, and counties, and to draw compact districts and districts that combine areas in the state that have something in common with each other, that share common interests that might be, there's been a fascinating debate that comes up every 10 years is what does it mean to be a resident of a county in Vermont? Counties, as a matter of governance or government, have very limited responsibilities in Vermont. We elect certain officials on a county basis, but once they're elected, some of them at least don't have a lot of association with the county per se. We have our court system is sort of historically connected to the county system, but we call them county courthouses, but they're really, in some counties, the county owns the building, but everybody inside works for the state. But on the other side, people in Vermont tend to identify with their county and to tell people I'm from Orange County, and that has meaning for them and significance for them, particularly when they can say that they're not from Chittenden County. That place over there that's so close to Vermont, right? So those other non-population factors are a complicating force in reapportionment, because it means that it's not simply an exercise in creating substantially equally populated districts. It means that you're supposed to make a sincere, concerted effort to respect town and city lines and county lines. And that is a yin and a yang that played itself out within the membership of the apportionment board and resulted in the main apportionment board reports and plans, and also minority reports and plans. And you will see also that there are majority rebuttals to the minority reports in each of the two reports. And I think that was a difficult process for the board members to go through. I think it provides value to the Senate and to the state, because both versions, both approaches are spelled out in great detail, giving the General Assembly some choices. And it's certainly not choice A versus choice B, it's choice C, which is something entirely different or some combination. But the apportionment board is hopeful that its work is providing you with a great deal of raw material, so to speak, for doing the work that you need to do. And when you read through the statutes that create the apportionment board, you will see that we are established as a resource and an advisor to the General Assembly, so that you can seek counsel, seek advice or resources from the apportionment board maybe to learn from our experience, our mistakes, our successes. And understand, and I'll leave you with this, this is really difficult work to do. It's very much, the map making is very much trial and error. Every time you adjust a district line, you've adjusted a district line for two districts, the one that you're looking at and the one next door. And that has a ripple or a potentially a ripple or a domino effect into surrounding and maybe not so near districts. And I think, as I've testified to this committee before, you're depending upon where you start a mapping exercise, the map, where in the state. So if you start in Pownell, or if you start in Swanton, and go out across the state doing an exercise, your maps will look different, because as you make these boundary choices, you affect the following choices. And there isn't, while there's great computer software to help, these other non-population factors assert themselves, and you end up making some difficult choices, and the realization creeps up that you're not going to make everybody happy. So, Madam Chair, I'll stop there and stand by for questions, and I think you should definitely hear from Mr. Winters and his perspective from the Secretary of State's office, who had to put up with us for the last year and a half.
Thank you. And we will have Tom back when for both the minority and majority reports. I'm not sure how he will orchestrate that, who will give us the reports, but if he will or somebody else will. And then as we go forward, I'm sure Tom will be with us whenever he can. So,
and Madam Chair, if I hate when I chair a committee and somebody does this, but the difference of opinion over single member districts is a sincerely held and thought out difference of opinion, and I think I know the committee understands that, but I want to emphasize it, that those folks who are single member district advocates are really do have their list of arguments and principles that they value and believe are compelling, and the folks who disagree with them feel likewise.
yes, I know one of your committee members, and hear it on the back porch almost daily. So thank you. Chris, do you want to talk to us a little bit about deadlines and your website? And
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. Excuse my voice, and I may cough a little bit now. COVID has found our household through our 8th grader, and we've all been through it now. I'm the last one to go through it, so I'm positive at the moment. That's why I'm at home, and that's why I have this voice and maybe coughing, but I'm feeling fine. More
Sorry, Chris.
flu-like symptoms for me. Yeah, thank you. So to talk about deadlines first, we have been saying April 1st is the date that we would like to see the final maps from the legislature, and we'll tell you why. What we do is we start with the general election and work backward from there. And as you can imagine, there are a lot of timelines that we have to meet in order to get ready for Election Day and well before Election Day. So it's an ongoing throughout the year. The general election this year is on November 8th. And as you all know, ballots go out and are available 45 days before that that's a federal law, early voting and overseas and military voters. So that's around September 26th that those ballots go out. And for the general election, the last day for party nominations, going backwards from there, is a month prior to those ballots going out, which is August 26th. And the last day for candidate withdrawal is August 19th. So that's that month lead time that we need to get the ballots ready to be ready to go out 45 days before general election day. And as you all know, that the ballot production process is it's complicated, and especially if you're doing vote by mail election, you have to line up all the addresses with the proper ballots and the proper candidates. And in order to do that, you need to know what the districts are and which candidates are running where. So backing up from that date, we have the statewide primary, which is on August 9th this year, and the canvass that happens a week after that on August 16th. So on August 16th, we have our final list of candidates who are going to be running in the general election and start that ballot preparation. Backing up from the statewide primary itself, again, 45 days of early and absentee voting and getting that ballot ready. That's about a June 25th date there to have the ballots ready to go. So by June 25th, we have to have ballots for the August primary. Backing up from June 25th, we have, again, we need a month to get those different ballot styles in something like 275 different districts and combinations. We have a month to do that. So that you back up from June 25 to May 26, which is the last data file for major party candidates. And the first data file for candidates is April 25th. So there's that window of April 25th to May 26th for candidates to file petitions to run in the primary. So April 25th is when we need to know who is running and where, and candidates need to know where I'm declaring for. Am I eligible to run in this district? What is happening? It doesn't affect the statewide races, but it certainly affects the representatives and senators. So using that April 25th first day to file, we've been saying April 1st is really the latest that we can possibly have these maps ready to go, so that everyone can prepare for the election in August and in November. Hopefully that's clear to folks. Happy to stop there and answer any questions people might have.
And when you say ready to go, the map's ready to go, you mean actually signed by the governor. The governor isn't likely to veto a bill that comes out of the legislature around redistricting. I'm assuming that's, I don't know that a governor has ever vetoed.
I'm not aware that it's ever happened before.
So if if the bill is passed by April 1st, that should be clear to people. Okay.
Should be, yeah.
Okay.
So over the last year, the Legislative Apportionment Board had met about 30 times. And so we've created a lot of materials. We've gathered a lot of resources. Some of this may be helpful to you, maybe some of it not. But with your permission, Madam Chair, I would share my screen and show you what we have on the Secretary of State's website in case that's something you're interested in.
Okay, thank you.
All right, can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right, this is the Secretary of State's website at sos.vermont.gov with the lovely pictures of COVID on the front cover.
Yeah.
It hits differently for me this morning. So across the top, there are tabs, and you'll see apportionment is one of those tabs. So we've created a separate section for apportionment on our website. So from the Apportionment Board's homepage, we had information up here about how to contact the board, and a lot of people did contact the board over the last year. You can also see down here a little bit about the board, how to contact the board again, map drafts, and that's on a tab across the top, map drafts. So you get to see the drafts that the board put out early on, the one that they sent that's a House single member district that they sent out to all BCAs across the state for feedback. You'll see a few draft Senate maps and a few draft House maps. You can find all of the board's meeting minutes and other meeting resources on this webpage. These are all in the resources tab up above, which I'll show you in just a minute, is probably the place where you'll want to go, is the resources tab. We do have some historical information here about the apportionment process, the criteria for apportionment, and the history of apportionment in the state of Vermont. So going back to the top here, across the top, this is the main page, the map drafts page, and I'll take you there briefly. So here you can see all the different House maps that were proposed and the Senate maps that were proposed. And this includes the final map from the majority of the board on a 4-3 vote, and an alternate map proposal from the minority on a 4-3 vote. And you'll see a statewide PDF of it. And then this is the cool piece that VCGI helped us with, which was we call it an app. And I'm just going to click on here, and you can see, hopefully it'll come up here, the Senate districts side by side. The majority proposal is on the left. The minority proposal is on the right. If you move one, it moves the other in the same way. If you were to zoom in, you can get a significant level of detail here, right down to streets and buildings on the street. You can find a specific town by going to the upper right-hand corner here and selecting a town. So if we take Addison, for example, it'll be highlighted on the map. You can see the Senate majority proposal here, the county with the the Senate district lines, and you can also see it over here on the minority proposal where the Senate district lines would be. And the other cool part about this is you can also compare this to what currently exists. Oh, sorry, I'm hopefully not making any of you car sick here with the way I'm driving. The current district, you can also flip to that. So you can see the majority's proposal and then what the current district looks like. You can see the lines here. And of course, the majority proposal is a single member district and the smaller. And then what you can also do on here is see an individual PDF of this proposed district, which gives you an even further level of detail when you click on that. So you can really drill down and see what the proposed districts look like, or the current districts, or the minority proposals districts.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
may I ask a question? So Chris, where do we see I'm having a hard time finding the map where we started with just the raw data on the census up and downs and the shifts in population. Where is the original map?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a VCGI map. And so I'm going to get out of map drafts now, so you can see all the House and Senate map drafts. And
Yeah, I see it. It's just amazing number of options, but where we started is harder to find.
So back to, that was under the map drafts tab, back to the resources tab. Here you will find the House final proposal, the Senate final proposal, the alternate House proposal, the alternate Senate proposal, all the meeting recordings. So you can watch any of these 30 meetings in your spare time, all of the minutes from those 30 meetings. And then down here, Senator Clarkson, is what I think you're looking for.
Yeah, I'm not following you on resources. I didn't see that anywhere. I see Vermont Legislative Apportionment Board. I see about the board contact map draft. So I don't see anything that says resources. Meeting resources. Is that it?
I think that will get you there. Yes.
Got it. Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
And then scrolling down on resources down to where you see a section that says 2020, 2021 legislative apportionment resources, VCGI maps and census data. If you're looking for numbers like ups and downs on how population has changed, that's the place for you. They have a lot of information and maps around the 2020 census data. And here's just a nice visualization of population ups and downs, with the greens being population that's gone up. You can see Williston, and the purples being gone down, Castleton, Poultney, Rutland Town. That's one place for you to look to see what the apportionment board was dealing with in terms of population shifts in the state and how districts need to be readjusted based on that.
Well, and Chris, there's also the same thing for a Senate map, isn't there?
That is a good question. I'm not positive, but I can send that. I think this is town by town.
Okay.
And does not show House districts or Senate districts, but there may be an overlay for that.
We have that by district.
Okay.
There is something because I printed it out. I don't know where I found it, but
It's probably on this page somewhere. I'm guessing there's a lot of information.
There's a lot here.
Here's Senate districts. It looks like not in a, there it is right there.
Yeah.
So that's current Senate districts and how much they've gone up and down, it appears, in population. So I'm going to close out of that and go back to the resources page. There's just some other background. You all probably saw the reapportionment presentation that Betsy Ann and Mike Chernick gave probably a year ago. This is that PowerPoint from that. So it's a helpful refresher and reminder of the process itself if you need it. The roles of boards of civil authority. And you may hear something about a survey that the board put out early on to get the public engaged and to gauge public interest in a number of things and what's important to them about reapportionment. And there's some information in there about preference for single member districts and other things that are important to the public when it comes to reapportionment. So you can see the survey results summary and the survey results with all of the answers that we received to that survey. You can see all of the results there.
Wow.
Resources provided by members of the apportionment board. And even if you really want to go deep, there's the 2010 Legislative Apportionment Board website that we archived last time around. So those are the main resources that are available to you. If there's something in particular that that you're not able to locate, please feel free to reach out and I'll let you know if we have it, if it's somewhere, if we can get it for you, if we can get it produced for you. This was a lot more work than any of us anticipated over the last year. Normally it's something that's staffed by our elections division, but we've had some shortages there and help and extra work for them in getting ready for vote by mail. So I kind of was the one who stepped forward or didn't step back when volunteers were being looked for. So Eric Covey and I staffed the committee and we're there through most of the meetings, and it's a fascinating process. It's a difficult process. I really enjoyed working on it, and people, as Tom said, have real convictions around this and in supporting either single member or multi-member districts. And I appreciate that you're all willing to serve on this committee as well. It's not an easy task.
thank you. So Senator Perchlik, did you have a question about the resources?
I did.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. My question, Chris, is on the resources. I see the BCA responses, 196 pages. I wonder if there's a resource that I didn't see that puts this in a table or some other kind of more easy format to see how all the different BCAs responded, or do I have to look through all the pages and do my own tally?
I might venture a short answer here. I think the BCA refers to the House districts, not to ours.
Yeah, no, I'm aware of that, but since the majority report for the Senate map followed the House map, as Chair Little pointed out, I thought it would be interesting to see what the BCAs thought of some of those lines.
Okay.
Senator, I think you'll see some of those responses summarized in the final Senate report from the LAB. So they do go through what the comments were, what the feedback was from those towns that did respond, and in some instances, what the apportionment board's response was in adjusting the map. Excuse me. But what we did was we set up a web form and sent out an email to every town, every town clerk, to every select board chair, and said, please fill out this web form telling us which district you want to keep, which district you want to change, and why, and try to take into account, if you make a change, how that affects the towns around you. And then that was just, we were able to dump that into a PDF, which increased every day. We put 10 more in there until you got the very long response that you have there for every town that responded. So there's not really a summary anywhere is the short answer, but you will see some summarization in the legislative board's House and Senate final reports.
Thank you.
So are there any more questions about this? I think we need to jump to Senator Pearson's question about how we operate, because I think that's really important. And then we need to set a time for us to meet, at least for our next meeting, because I suspect right now we only have 15 minutes left. And I suspect we're not going to deal with both a time and how we operate. So yes, Bobby, Senator Starr, you're muted.
Before we lose Tom or Chris, I'm wondering, does the deviation in numbers change much between a single member district, Senate district, and a multi-member district? So you have more room to play with the numbers if you have one or the other?
I'll take that one initially. I think the two Senate plans deviations are reasonably close to each other. I think my recollection, and I'll get back to your committee assistant with the exact numbers. I think the single member district deviation was slightly tighter, and as your legislative council attorneys will tell you, there's a lot of law on how the courts interpret or review the population deviation stuff. But Bobby, there's no, you could do tighter deviations with all single member districts, or you could do tighter ones with 2-member districts. A lot depends on what else you're doing in terms of town lines and county lines. If you're willing to break up towns and counties more, you can probably get tighter population deviations, because as we know, the population moves around without regard to town lines. I'll get you the exact number.
Yeah.
So committee, I'm thinking here, excuse me. I'm thinking that, do most of us have to be out of here by 9 to go to other committees?
Yes.
So what I'm thinking here is that we only have about 10 minutes left. And I would suggest that what we do is set another meeting time right now for pretty soon. And then we can have a pretty thorough discussion of how we're going to operate and who has access to Nick and how we do that and all of that. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's look at a potential next meeting. And I don't have any idea what does Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock work for people, for the next meeting anyway, whether we settle on that permanently or not?
Yes.
Senator Clarkson?
Yeah, I think if it's possible, let's do this again, but it would be great to do a doodle poll with a couple options because they're lunch and we could maybe alternate this time with a lunchtime and maybe do back and forth.
I think that if we can set the next meeting right now, then we can figure out how we're going to go forward, whether we want to have a flexible meeting time, alter meeting times that aren't the same every week that are, but I think we need to have that conversation before we do a doodle poll about it.
Yeah.
Senator Pearson?
Do Wednesday at lunch never work for Senators Brock and Collmore? Or was that just this week?
No,
It never
that's
worked.
no.
Okay.
But when Wednesday mornings work fine for me, but that's a whole week apart. And I would think we're gonna have to meet more often than once a week if we're gonna be done by April.
Yeah, I think we are. I'm just talking about setting our next meeting, and we could do it Friday morning.
Or Friday lunch.
Friday's fine too.
Senator Collmore and I have a Friday morning commitment.
Okay.
How about a Friday lunch commitment?
It can be
This
tricky.
is just,
'cause
remember, this is
before-
one meeting we're setting now.
Okay.
One meeting,
Friday at noon's okay.
this Friday at noon.
I don't know what we expect on the floor, but I don't think we have, I think Senate Gov Ops has done its
Yeah,
early work. I don't know what we have on the floor Friday, and I don't anticipate it'll be long.
it probably wouldn't be, let's say 12:15 on Friday, the 14th.
Okay,
Yeah.
done.
Okay.
Does that work with everybody that for this week only? And then we'll figure it out next week?
Yes.
Yeah.
I potentially have a conflict, but I'll try to rearrange that.
I do too, but I have a 12:30 conflict, but I'll try and rearrange it also.
Or we could do tomorrow at noon.
That would work
Or-
also.
That won't work for me. What about tomorrow at 8?
Yep.
I feel like there's something.
I could do it. I would prefer Friday at 8, but I could rearrange my,
I could do Friday at 8.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
right. Randy and Brian have a problem.
We have a commitment.
Oh.
Tomorrow at noon.
no, Friday at 8.
Cannot do Friday at 8.
Okay.
the 12:15 tomorrow,
Friday work.
Friday.
Yep.
Friday after the floor.
But so will we have Senator Pearson and Senator Clarkson with us?
I will work
No.
to rearrange my.
Because I think that's crucial.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would prefer tomorrow morning, but I will work to rearrange Friday lunch if that's where it has to be.
I would, does Thursday morning work? Tomorrow morning at 8? I
Yeah.
was the only one, I think, that said,
Yes.
okay, Thursday morning, tomorrow morning at 8.
Okay.
I think I just can't access my calendar because we're on I don't know how to do that.
Allison, if you write it down in a little book like this, and you can do it when you're on your,
I have it in my day timer. I do have it. I just, sometimes we say yes electronically to these meetings and,
some of us never do.
well, you're special.
Anyway,
Um,
okay, so
yeah.
tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Mike, does that work for you?
Yes, thank you for
Okay.
asking. Yes, of course it does.
And I think that at this point, I'm going to leave it up to Ameren and Michael Chernick about whether they feel they need to be here or not, because I know that they're both so busy and have so many commitments that as we're kind of organizing ourselves, I don't know if you feel you need to be here, but we'll leave that up to you.
Thank you.
And Nick, I think it would be very helpful to have you with us if you can. Okay, great. So tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. And we'll talk mainly about setting times and how we're going to function by how we use Nick and how we function as a committee and as individual senators And remember, there are another 23 senators out there who are going to want to get their voices in too. So, okay,
Okay.
Bobby?
Are we going to use the same Zoom number or will Mike send us a new one?
Nope, I'll send you a new one. We have to use new Zoom IDs for each meeting. So I'll send that
Okay.
out probably later on this afternoon. So it's fresh in your inboxes for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sounds good.
Thank you.
anything else?
Nope.
Okay.
Randy, I just need to chat with you if we can before Senate Economic Development.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for being